Help me reach 1,000 subscribers. It was just after 2 a.m. when the sound of the front door unlocking jolted me awake. The deadbolt clicked twice, followed by the soft, steady sound of heels tapping across the hardwood floor. For a few moments, I convinced myself it had to be part of a dream. Then I looked at the clock. 2:03 glowed in red through the darkness, and the truth settled in. Rachel hadn't called. She hadn't sent a single text. Nothing but complete silence. I stayed perfectly still, pretending to be asleep while my heart pounded hard against my chest. When the bedroom door slowly opened, I noticed the scent before she even spoke. It was perfume that wasn't hers, strong and unfamiliar, hanging in the air like thick smoke. She paused, her voice quiet, almost pleased. "Got the attention I wanted," she whispered. At first I thought I'd heard her wrong. I slowly sat up. "What did you just say?" She looked at me, her eyes distant and unfocused, yet her chin remained lifted with quiet defiance. "You heard me," she replied. "You've been so busy, always so far away. Tonight, for the first time in a long while, I finally felt noticed." Her words cut through me like a slow, painful blade. The silence between us grew so heavy it became difficult to breathe. I could only stare at her. This was the woman I had loved for the past 12 years. The woman who once traced my jaw with her fingertips. The one who promised she would never walk away from everything we had built together. Now she stood before me with smeared lipstick, shaking hands, and eyes caught somewhere between guilt and defiance. People often imagine betrayal as shouting, shattered glass, and endless chaos. But the truth is much quieter. It's the moment your heartbeat slows as you realize the person beside you stopped loving you long before this night ever arrived. I quietly got out of bed, said nothing, and walked into the hallway. Her suitcases were already waiting there, neatly packed and completely zipped. I'd prepared them earlier, not because I was angry, but because I had finally stopped pretending I couldn't see what had been unfolding for months. The growing distance, the lies hidden behind excuses, the sudden frustration every time I asked where she had been. The moment she noticed the bags, her expression changed from confusion to complete disbelief. "You packed my things?" she asked. I simply nodded. She let out a trembling laugh that never reached her eyes. "So this is it? You think this makes you strong? Just throwing me out?" "No," I replied softly. "It makes me free." Once, Rachel had been my light. She made everything around me feel brighter. We used to stay awake until dawn talking about impossible dreams. A small house by the lake, children, a loyal dog, and growing old side by side. But somewhere between promotions, endless deadlines, and the quiet wear of everyday routine, something inside our relationship fell apart. I tried to repair it. Flowers, date nights, weekend trips, heartfelt conversations, but she had already begun searching for validation somewhere else, in messages and lingering glances that had nothing to do with me. Whenever I reached for her, she pulled away. Whenever I told her I missed her, she rolled her eyes and called me dramatic. I'd learned that love can survive anger, but it cannot survive indifference. Beneath the dim glow of the hallway light, she looked smaller now, vulnerable in a way she probably never intended to reveal. "Ethan, you're not really doing this," she whispered. "Not at 2 o'clock in the morning." "You did this," I answered calmly. "I'm only finishing what you started." Her lower lip quivered. "It was just attention," she said, almost begging. "Nothing happened." I let out a slow breath. "Something did happen. You stopped caring whether it hurt me." For the first time in months, I wasn't angry anymore. I was simply done. I picked up the last suitcase and placed it beside her. "The taxi is waiting," I said. "I called it an hour ago." She slowly looked around the house, the framed photos, the lingering scent of coffee, the life we had built together, and I watched the exact moment she realized it was truly over. When she finally walked outside and the door softly clicked shut, the silence that followed felt almost cleansing. I remained on the couch for a long while. The quiet was heavy, yet honest, as if the house could finally breathe once again. People say heartbreak happens all at once, but they're mistaken. It comes in pieces. The first lie, the first distant glance, the moment you stop waiting for her to come home because deep down you already know she won't. By the time the ending finally arrives, all that's left is accepting the ashes. When morning came, sunlight filtered through the blinds as though it hadn't touched them in years. I made 1 cup of coffee instead of 2 and felt no pain, only a strange sense of calm. Her side of the closet stood empty. The house was silent, but for the first time it didn't feel lonely. I checked my phone. No missed calls, no messages, only a calendar reminder from weeks earlier. Marriage counselor, 10 a.m. I deleted it. Around noon, a text arrived from an unfamiliar number. I didn't mean for it to end like this. I typed, erased the words, then finally sent one simple line. It ended long before last night. You just stayed to watch the credits. There was no reply. I never expected one. Over the following weeks, people began noticing the difference. My coworker said I looked well rested. My sister said my voice sounded lighter. Even the dog stopped waiting by the front door every night. It's strange how losing the wrong person can feel like finally learning to breathe again. Sometimes I drive past the cafe where Rachel used to meet her friends, the very place where I once surprised her with flowers. I never walked inside. I didn't have to. The past doesn't owe you explanations. It already gave you every warning you needed. I've learned that love isn't measured by how tightly you hold on. It's revealed by the strength it takes to let go with dignity. A few weeks later, one of her friends accidentally called me, thinking I was her. I almost ended the call, but then I heard laughter in the background. Rachel's laughter. Faint, familiar, yet strangely distant. It didn't hurt anymore. It only confirmed what I had already accepted. She had found a different audience. I leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes, and smiled. Not because of bitterness, but because of relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't pretending, explaining myself, or apologizing for wanting a love that remained. Now, whenever people ask what happened, I simply tell them the truth. She came home at 2 a.m., proud of the chaos she had created, believing I would beg her to stay, but I didn't. I quietly pointed toward her bags and remembered the version of myself who once believed that love meant never giving up. Sometimes the most peaceful sound in the world is the gentle click of a door closing behind someone who is never coming home again.